Juwan Jennings did not practice today, and Ricky Pearsall for sure did. Does that mean that Ricky Pearsall might make his 49ers debut this Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs? Jesse and I will discuss that and much more next on 49ers After Dark. Good evening. Welcome to 49ers After Dark, presented by the Sleeper app. That's Jessie Naylor. I'm Grant Cohn. And today we're here to talk about the 49ers. They play the biggest game of their season coming up against the Chiefs. They've had a pretty bad season so far. Not bad, but they're 3-3, which isn't good. And it was supposed to be the easy part of their season. Now you got the Chiefs. And we're going to break it all down for you in the next hour. Starting with Ricky Pearsall, he's practicing fully, no restrictions. And Juwan Jennings is not. No practice, hip injury. What do you think the likelihood is that Ricky Pearsall might play this Sunday? And do you think he can make an immediate impact?
I initially thought that they were going to keep him out this week and just give him a full week of practice and then try to play him next week. And I think that still might happen. But this Juwan Jennings news changes that. I think having him active, whether it doesn't mean that he's going to immediately be the third receiver, right? Like I don't think it's going to happen like that. You know, Conley, Bell, Cowing, whoever. But I think he might be active now because of this. I think the place that he can make the biggest impact, though, Grant, is special teams. To me, when I was there at camp, and again, it was only 4 days, so what do I know? But I felt like he was the best punt returner they had. I felt like he was the most sure-handed. And he's explosive. He's more explosive than Trent Taylor. So if he's as sure-handed as Trent Taylor, or more so, and he's more explosive, I feel like that's an area of need for the 49ers. They really tried Jacob Cowing there. I feel like they should be done with that experiment. He slipped twice against Seattle. He's had some issues handling the football itself. When he gets the ball, he can be explosive, but you got to be able to field the ball cleanly first and make a move without slipping. So to me, I feel like that experience should be done for now. Nobody wants to see Trent Taylor. God, please don't play Juice back there. It's got to be Ricky Pearsall. I think that's a spot where he can make an immediate impact on this team.
When they opened his practice window, I was thinking, that's great. Like they have 3 weeks, but one of them is a bye week. So it's almost like 4 weeks, and they can take as much time as they want. And if an injury pops up, then yeah, they can cross that bridge when they get there. But essentially, like, no one would fault the Niners for straight up redshirting him this year. He got shot in the chest. And they have a bunch of good wide receivers that they can't get the ball to enough right now. So to me, he seemed like insurance. And then Juwan Jennings got hurt. And it's like, well, do they need him now? Do they feel they could beat? Because Jennings was their best receiver against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. No disrespect. Well, somewhat, I guess they would take it as disrespect. But yeah, he was their best wide receiver. And now he might not play in this game. And it was documented the struggles Brandon Ayuk had and Deebo Samuel had to beat man-to-man coverage. Now, Jerry Sneed's not there anymore, but still, that's why they drafted Ricky Pearsall, because they felt they needed someone who could separate. It remains to be seen whether he can do that against NFL corners, but I kind of think he's going to play in this game.
If Jennings isn't going to play, I think he'll be there. To me, I don't think he makes much of an offensive impact for a while. And the only way that he can is through injury, which it sounds like there might be the possibility this week. But if nobody's injured, what are we talking? Max, if he becomes the number 4 wide receiver, works his way up the depth chart, maybe 10 snaps a game if Jennings, Deebo, and Ayuk are healthy. But the 49ers have a major need at special teams. It's like it's the forgotten unit until it's an issue. And it seems like every week it's an issue with the 49ers in one way or another. If they can shore up that punt return spot, which it seems like has not happened at all in the Shanahan era, I think Ricky Pearsall can be that guy. I really do.
Yeah, and right now the Niners have the worst special teams in the league. So anything he can give them would help. Well, here's one thing I want to say with Ricky. Like, let's say, I think it's clear that the gunshot wound was as like fortuitous as it could be, it didn't hit any tendons or bones, and it essentially was traumatic, but not more maybe emotionally and mentally than physically. I don't know, but it seems like he's cool on that side. That was the right side. If you watch him in practice, he's got a brace on his left side, kind of like the brace that George Kittle had for years. And I sort of feel like I'm more maybe that's crass to say because there's a gunshot wound there, but I feel like the subluxation side is the side where there could be a re-aggravation. And so I guess that's what I'm more concerned is the wrong word, but thinking about at this point moving forward. What about that left shoulder that he's wearing a brace on? Is he going to re-aggravate it like getting hit or tackled? Because he re-aggravated it in camp, blocking in camp, which isn't really blocking. So
I don't think it's being crass. I think it's just being observant of what you're seeing when you're seeing a brace. To me, I think the reason that they waited an extra week to even open up the practice window is because of the other shoulder, not the one where he was shot. I think that probably healed a lot quicker than we would suspect, and he was good to go. That's just my thought process. I think it's the other shoulder that's still an issue, and I think that there's a chance that it continues to be an issue or a concern until he has some sort of surgery. Could be wrong about that. We'll see. Hopefully he can make it through the season. But yeah, I mean, he's wearing a brace on that shoulder. It clearly is. If it was perfectly fine, you don't wear a brace on something that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation.
Well put. Thank you. Like, I don't want to get too far into speculation. That's a good way to put it. I think the Niners had a choice to make. I think it's pretty clear. End his season with surgery. Or put a brace on it, see what happens. And I can't say what the right thing to do is. Maybe they need him right now. Maybe he's going to make the winning catch against the Chiefs or go for 175 and 3 touchdowns like Jawan Jennings did. Or maybe he goes out there and injures it again, and you're like, man, maybe they should have just shut him down once he got shot in the chest and said, like, you know what, this is a good opportunity for you to get surgery on the other one. And you know what, we're just going to put you on ice this year. Maybe that would have been I don't know what the right move is, and I guess we'll find out. But they had to make a decision. They made one.
I think it would have been easy to sell to the fans why you put them on ice and you just have the surgery kind of behind the scenes without really blowing it up.
Right.
I think the hard part is explaining it to Ricky. Imagine being Ricky and you go through that traumatic event. And all you want to do is play football, man. You didn't get your opportunity in training camp really because you hurt yourself or OTAs or preseason or none of that. You're excited about playing football. You have this thing happen to you. And it's like, okay, well, the one thing that can kind of take my mind off this and give me something to be excited about is football. And you're just going to take it away for the whole season. I think it might have actually made it harder for them to shut him down because of that situation.
I think that's a great point. I can't even argue with that. I hadn't thought of it at all. I mean, from a mental health standpoint, what would be worse for Ricky Pearsall? Yeah. Just not play football or to play football? It seems like you take football away from him at this point, he could potentially go to some dark places mentally. I don't think it's easy to take someone's purpose away from them at such a critical point, at such a young point in their life. So with you, still, just a concern. The other shoulder. Watch that left shoulder when he gets hit. I'm just curious to see how he responds because theoretically, another wide receiver who could beat man-to-man coverage and fill in for Jawan Jennings wouldn't hurt.
And for anybody that's at the game or whatever, man, if he is activated, I hope he gets the biggest standing ovation. I hope they make it a special deal. They announce him. Just make him feel good about the whole situation and give him the applause that he deserves, really. So I'm looking forward to his debut.
Also, everyone, you guys trying to get a little Ricky Pearsall action. What do you see? Yeah, I'm giving that away.
That's a jersey.
That's right. Sleeper app. Download the Sleeper app. Use promo code. I'm giving all kind of stuff away. But that one, I'm going to wait until he makes his debut. Because I feel like there'll be Ricky Mania. And trying to see how people feel about that. So just throwing that out there. There's a Pearsall signed jersey. It's autographed, waiting for the right time to be given away. You want to get into that? Download the app. Use promo code COHN. Okay, we can move on now. The Niners are playing the Chiefs. The Niners aren't exactly what they were in the Super Bowl. Chiefs aren't exactly what they were in the Super Bowl. Which team has taken bigger hits to their roster?
It's interesting because I think a lot of the conversation, and this is natural. Like we're fans of the 49ers. You're not, but we, the fans, we are fans of the 49ers, and we look across and we're trying to find chinks in the armor. And we're looking at it going, oh, well, the Chiefs are clearly worse than they were in the Super Bowl. And they were already a down team. Like, this is our chance. And I look at it and say, yeah, that's true. But the 49ers are worse off than what they were in the Super Bowl as well. I mean, if we're just keeping it real, they don't have CMC. They still don't have Greenlaw. And we saw what happened in the second half of that game without Greenlaw. They don't have the veteran in Gibson. They've got a rookie in Mustafa. That's great. But both their starting defensive tackles from that game are not here. So, yeah, the 49ers might be a little worse off as well. Now they're better at the offensive line. I think the receiving core, even though it should be deeper, might be a little worse. The names are the same for the 49ers, but it's, so I don't know,
Is
man.
Debo better? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that Debo's better. I don't know that Ayuk's better.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
have you mentioned 23?
I did. CMC was, yeah. I mentioned.
Okay,
I mentioned
just make him
CMC.
sure because he's kind of important.
He's kind of a big deal. Yeah. So there are areas where the 49ers are better now. It's not all doom and gloom. They're better in the secondary. They are better at
the Niners
offensive line. Pooney, yeah, better offensive line. Secondary. I think they are corner.
Traverse Ward's having a tough year. I'm a big fan, but he said he's having a tough year. PFF says he's having a horrible year.
Yeah.
Also, not to bag on Traverse because he's like he's not the least of their problems, but to me, look, Devondre Campbell having an awful year, but according to PFF, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles having a much worse year. Two of the worst linebackers in the league, and they're often on the field together. That's not ideal against Andy Reid with 2 weeks to prepare.
It's not. But now let's look at the Chiefs. Let's look at where they're better and where they're worse. Obviously, Pacheco's gone. Obviously, Rashee Rice is gone, so they're worse in both of those areas. I think the receiver number 2 is better. I'll take Xavier Worthy over MVS any day of the week.
Yeah.
Their offensive line, believe it or not, is better because if you remember, Joe Thuney tore his bicep or his pec or something and was unable to play in that game. He's an all-pro player.
Yep.
So now he's back. He's playing. So they're better there. I think their defensive depth is better. Last year, that defensive line was missing 2 starters, and they had to go. They literally picked up somebody off their practice squad to play and start in that game on the defensive line. So I think their defense has more depth, although the pure talent and L'Jarius Sneed not being there, maybe that's a little bit less. I think the 49ers might be worse off compared to what they were last year in the Super Bowl than the 49ers or than the Chiefs, though. CMC is a big deal, man. CMC is a big deal. And I think that defensive line's a big deal. So for me, I'll slightly go 49ers, although I think both teams are slightly worse than they were last year.
Yeah. I thought the Niners were better than the Chiefs last year, and that's why that Super Bowl loss was rough because the Niners had a better roster. But now that they've lost the offensive player of the year, and we've seen what the loss of Dre Greenlaw has done to their defense. Man, if the Niners can find a way to beat the Chiefs,
that'd be huge.
Without McCaffrey, and they couldn't beat him with them, I would just have to question everything I know about time, space, the whole continuum.
All of it. Okay.
It wouldn't make sense, but that's football though. Like there's turnovers, anything happen any given Sunday. Maybe it'll be one of those games. But if the Niners just go out there and execute, and they're a machine in a way they couldn't beat 2 weeks ago against the Cardinals, okay, you know what? I'll just stop. Maybe I'll just retire at that point. You have my word. I'll just retire. I won't understand. No, what I'll do is I'll praise the Niners. I'll praise the Niners if they find a way to do it. What an accomplishment that would be.
Yeah, and I don't think, here's the thing is the 49ers to me are going to be in this game. It's not like they're going to get mollywopped. They're not going to get blown out of this game. They're going to be in it. So they're going to have a chance to win. They will have a chance to win this game. Can they execute down the stretch? Can they make the plays that are necessary? That's the real question. But they'll be in this game. They'll have their chances.
Is the question execution or is the question the genius? Because to me, the issue with the Chiefs is that you can't blow them out. You can't. They're too good. They're going to be in one-score games. And in one-score games, Kyle historically isn't great. And Andy Reid, well, Patrick Mahomes is freaking the best. So that's a rough matchup.
That's the thing is Kansas City doesn't blow anybody out anymore really either. And so they're constantly in these games. Like they're talk about battle tested and being ready for these moments. They're in these games every single week, and yet they find a way to win every single week. They know how to play in this environment. They expect it to be a one-score game with minutes left on the clock and either have to make a defensive stop or go score on the offensive side of the ball. They are used to playing that brand of football. The 49ers are not. They either blow somebody out or they just lose those close games. You know what I mean? Like there's not really any in between with the 49ers. They rarely win the close games. It's usually a blowout, and they're not going to blow the Chiefs out, just like the Chiefs aren't going to blow them out. So who's more battle tested for this moment of a close game? It's the Chiefs. They just are. It doesn't mean they're going to execute this time, but they are ready for it. They're more
okay.
prepared.
I want to go back to the Ricky Pearsall topic, and we could do this as many times as we want during the show because it's a Ricky Pearsall show. It's Ricky Pearsall week.
Sure.
If there's an angle that we didn't hit that pops in my head, I want to bring it up. So I like the idea. We talked about the mental health angle, and you don't want to take football away from him, and he needs this. That's all true. But remember, the reason they drafted him was like, hey, we might be trading Brandon Ayuk, no pressure. And I felt like he overtrained, pulled his hamstring, and was really grinding to be ready. And I think you could see the pressure. And then the gunshot had nothing to do with that. Now you come back and you're like, hey, man, you've been practicing for twice. And you look really good. Jawan Jennings is hurt, man. How would you like to play against the Chiefs? We kind of need you. He's going to say, hell yeah. But again, it's a lot of pressure, and he may not be ready. And just because he wants to play and says he's ready, you're ultimately responsible, Jesse. And if he goes out there and he wasn't ready and he gets hurt and he subluxes his shoulder again, it's like, well, that was dumb. So they got to be careful. Duh.
Yeah, like I said, I think the original plan was to not have him play this week, and we'll see what happens with Jennings. Just because it's Wednesday, Jennings could practice tomorrow on a limited basis, and then still end up playing Sunday. That's very much a possibility still. And I think the right move is probably to not play him this week. Give him a full week of practice. Give him another week. Play him heading into the Dallas game. That's a game you're going to win anyways. It's Dallas Cowboys. Play him sparingly there. Let him go into the bye week, rest, get in better shape, and then have a little bit of football under his belt before they travel to Tampa and they play out here. So, yeah, I think that's probably the game plan. But things change. If Jennings is hurt, they're going to need an extra body. And, Pearsall's like, you're the guy, man. You're the guy.
Is this blasphemous to be like, look, man, no McCaffrey, maybe no Collins, maybe no Jennings, no Greenlaw. Like, this team is banged up. To ask Ricky Pearsall, like, hey, man, like, we're shorthanded. You want to play? Like, maybe just take the L. You're not taking the L, but like, is it really an all hands on deck type of situation? Last week was supposed to be that. You said it was as close to a must win game. You, Jesse, said it was as much as close to a must win game as there could be. And then you won it. It's like, okay, well, you're first place in your division. It's a non-conference game. You got hella people hurt. Ricky's not going to save you. Like, take the long view. It's October. I don't know.
Well, I'll say this, Grant. I've been making the point since after they lost the Super Bowl and when we knew that they were playing the Chiefs again this year, that this is a must win for them, regardless of what the records are going into it. Now, obviously, it's only a must win if they match up with the Chiefs again, which is entirely possible. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't reach a Super Bowl. Maybe the Chiefs don't reach a Super Bowl. But if they face the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, there is no way they can go to the well that doesn't exist because you didn't win again in the regular season and pull from something and be like, hey, we've got all the confidence in the world. You need to know that you can win this game, and this is your opportunity. And a lot of people push back on that notion, but you listen to the way these players are talking, they feel the exact same way, Grant. For sure. Hey, we need to prove it to ourselves we can beat this team. They're telling you right now, if we don't beat this team and we match up in the Super Bowl, we have nothing to pull from. Nothing to pull from.
Here's my thing, though. I'm not sure that the Chiefs are going to be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl this year. I don't know. I feel like this might be the Ravens' year. You ask your son; he'll tell you.
I thought last year was the Ravens' year, man.
No, but they're a significantly different team with Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry. This might be the last year of his prime. I don't want to get way too off here, but like, is this? I don't know. Like, for example, what would be more demoralizing for the 49ers? To lose with all hands on deck, everyone who was 75% healthy and above had to play, and you lost, or you took the long view, you didn't play Ricky Pearsall, you didn't play Jordan Mason, you didn't play anyone who had a risk of like re-aggravating something and making it worse, and you lost, and you said, you know what, sucks. We still haven't beaten the Chiefs, but you know what, like they're not, it's a different year, and there's no guarantee we face them again, and we got to worry about every single team in the NFC North before we can even freaking get there. And so we're playing for that. You're like, no. They've
got to be.
That was the least inspiring coach's speech you ever heard. There's Al Pacino and then there's what I just did. Hey guys, why don't we just take the L this week? What do you say?
Not even a big deal. Who cares? Just you sit. You sit. You're hurt.
No problem.
It's fine. It's totally fine.
I think I'm the next great coach talking like that. Okay, I got a question for you.
All right.
The Niners have a lead with 1 minute left. Who would you feel more confident? Which side of the ball would you feel more confident in to close out the game? The offense or the defense? Hold on, I didn't set that up. Right.
Yeah. No,
I didn't set that up right at all. Everything I just said, forget it. Disregard it. Jesse, you talk because English is something you do better than me.
So either you're down 1 point and you have the ball with 1 minute and no timeouts, or you are up with 1 point and they have the ball with 1 minute and no timeouts. Which scenario is better? Now, again, we talked about this is going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. So this scenario is very realistic. And I think on the surface, Grant, you say, oh, I don't want Mahomes to have the ball. Of course not. But there is something here that is saying, I don't know if I want the offense to have the ball either. And not because, believe it or not because of Kyle, not because of Brock. They might be down to their third kicker, Grant. What if they get in field goal range and it comes down to a kicker that you just picked off the street again? Is that ideal? No, that's not ideal either. So I think both scenarios are pretty shaky here. But ultimately,
let's change the scenario then. Let's make it 4 points instead of 1.
Okay, 4 points. Then you definitely want the ball. You want the ball. You do not want Patrick. Yes. I don't want Patrick Mahomes to have the ball. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It's true.
Do you remember
this though is that the Niners, like all you got to do is just get them into the red zone, and then you got a great chance of them not scoring a touchdown.
But that goes both ways, actually.
That is true.
Do you remember the 13-second game against Buffalo, and they had like a heart rate monitor on Mahomes, and they said that his heart rate was higher when the defense was on the field than when he was actually in the game? He was more nervous watching his defense have to get a stop than him actually having to go out and make a play.
I love that detail. It makes complete sense. Like, why wouldn't he have supreme confidence in himself? He's Patrick Mahomes. Right. Everyone else has supreme confidence in him. Why wouldn't he have it in himself? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When he's on the sideline, he's freaking helpless. When he's on the field, he's Mahomes. He makes it happen. Yeah, I would feel confident too. That's really great. I love that.
I don't want the ball in Mahomes' hands in that situation. And I know that there's not like the signature come from behind final drive deal in Purdy's career yet. I don't think Purdy gets nervous in those situations either. Now, Kyle might wet the bed a little bit, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't get the feeling that Purdy gets nervous in those situations. I don't. I feel like he's supremely confident as well. Now, he's still got to execute, but that's just my personal opinion.
That being said, though, like, aren't his numbers when he's losing in the fourth quarter like not so great?
No, they're not great. And that I think some of that is limitation.
Great when they're losing in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one score games in general, whether they're up or down. But I don't know. I just think
That could
that
be a Kyle
maybe
thing, though.
that right,
Could
right.
be.
I mean,
It
what
could
were
be.
Jimmy's numbers in those situations? I bet you they weren't good either.
Can I just ask you real quick? You've seen these stats floating around. Josh Dubow's just crushing Kyle Shanahan very
Yeah,
clinically. What do you think of the latest one? 378 win percentage in games decided by 7 points or fewer.
which is 119th out of 123 qualified head coaches. It's not good. It's funny because the response to that was what you would expect it to be, which is, yeah, but how many times is he blowing people out? Where's that stat? I think people are missing the point. And I would say for those of you that if that was your response, I would say, why don't you stand on the highest thing in your house so that this doesn't go over your head? Because the reality of the situation is playoff games are almost always one score games. And that's where your bread is buttered. If we want to win a Super Bowl, you're likely going to have to do it in a one score game. So that means Kyle, who is one of the worst all time, bottom 5 all time out of 124 or 123 qualified coaches, he's going to have to win in the toughest of situations and do something he rarely does. That's a big deal.
Let me ask you this. You got Josh Dubow, AP, digging deep, finding these stats. They're not great.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, but where is this coming from? Like, what's his axe to grind?
Just saying, like, he usually focuses his attention on Derek Carr and the Raiders, but for whatever reason, he's got time in his day and he's finding these crazy stats about Kyle Shanahan. And it's like, you hear about the hot seat and you think it's like, well, that's like, the organization's displeasure with their guy. But in certain ways, the hot seat could just be, life, the heat of the fans and the media and just people paying attention. Do you feel like the heat is starting to turn up on Kyle Shanahan in year 8? And it could be external, it could be internal, however you want to define where the heat comes from.
Yeah, I don't know that he's internally on any sort of hot seat, but I will say this. The conversation and the narrative around Kyle nationally is starting to turn.
I agree.
A lot of people are starting to question him. People that would have never questioned him in the past, and there's still a lot of people that are like, "Oh no, Kyle's great. It's Purdy. It's whatever." They're losing because of that. But there are people that are like, "No, Brock Purdy's actually pretty good. In fact, a lot of people think he's elite." And so, what does that mean for Kyle? Why are we doing this yet again? I think the national narrative is starting to change a little bit. People are at least willing to engage in the conversation that it might be Kyle Shanahan, and that has not been the case nationally whatsoever up until this season, in my opinion.
I mean, the league loves his scheme. It's I'm sure from the York's perspective, it's cool to have the sort of like the godfather of this generation's most popular scheme. But I think they've also shown that people can learn his scheme. He can teach it to people. They can take it to other places and do just as well, if not better, with inferior talent. And that there are things disconnected from his scheme in terms of game management, clock management that, have been an issue with him for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, they have been. And, there is something to coaches, owners, whatever. Everybody can say that they don't listen to outside noise, but it's BS. I mean, it's simply BS. And it's very different to be Jed York and being able to flip on a sports show, a YouTube channel, whatever, and hear nothing bad about your head coach year after year after year. And then all of a sudden you flip it on and you're like, whoa, they're talking bad about Kyle? Should I be questioning things? So, yeah, I mean,
And
I
it's
think
not
that's
just
how
Nick
things
Wright, it's
start.
Emmanuel Acho. It's,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's Nick Wright is actually defends him because he's
true.
he's like not getting he's not giving Purdy anything, so he's going to defend Kyle and be like, "Hey, Kyle's great, it's Purdy," But yeah, I mean, nationally, you are starting to hear those whispers. So again, I don't think internally there's anything now, but this is kind of how things can start. If they don't win again, and Purdy is amazing the rest of the year, where do you go with that?
Yeah, I mean, because again, like Kyle could always say he's the anti Andy Reid. Andy Reid I asked Kyle today, like, what's Andy's system? Well, he builds around his quarterback. Kyle doesn't. Kyle can always be like, look how good of an offense I had in spite of my quarterback. I mean, it was Jimmy Garoppolo, and people always bought into that. Like, just wait.
Yep.
Just wait till he gets his guy. He has his guy. Everyone loves Brock Purdy. No one says he's Jimmy Garoppolo 2.0, and you're 3-3. You can't blame Brock for that. I mean, even if privately Kyle feels it's not his fault and it's on the quarterback, like no one else is going to say that. So now the heat's on you, and in a way that it's never been on you before. And that's sort of what that comes with the territory of being a head coach with an elite quarterback. You got to produce, dude.
Grant, I've been saying this for a year, and maybe you'll start to see it, or maybe you are starting to see it. But I always said that if it comes down to Brock or Kyle, the fans will choose Brock. They just will.
Yeah, they will.
And this is the first time that that is the case, because the fans certainly wouldn't have chosen Trey. They wouldn't have chosen Jimmy. They will choose Brock in this scenario. So if it comes down to it and Kyle starts throwing him under the bus and doing the things that Kyle's done in the past, it won't go well for him.
Yeah, and let's envision a future this may not happen where the team falls short this year of expectations and they lose in the first round of the playoffs or the second. Let's say they lose to Detroit at home in the playoffs and their offense doesn't play so well. Fans are upset, angry, and Detroit goes on to win the Super Bowl. You don't think fans would want Ben Johnson over Kyle Shanahan? Like, it's that kind of a reactionary league. Like, well, that guy won the Super Bowl. He beat you. And it's a year-to-year thing. I mean, I think his standing and his job security is very much contingent on what happens this year. And we assume they're going to go far, but all we know is that they're 3-3. That's all we know.
Yeah, absolutely. And quite frankly, they haven't beaten anybody yet. I mean, what's the good win on their schedule at this point? There isn't one.
Doesn't exist. The Seahawks.
I mean, the fourth best win on the Chiefs schedule right now is probably better than the Seahawks. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Here's the thing is if they beat the Chiefs, and again, they're going to be in this game, they're going to ride this through the rest of the season and turn things around. Now, I still think they're behind the 8 ball as far as getting the number 1 seed. And so it's going to make it tougher, but I think that it's going to be looking up from here. But if they lose this game, and there's certainly a possibility that happens, things are going to get interesting for the rest of the season. It's going to be, it could be up and down for a while.
And one more thing with that Seahawks game, like the Niners win by 12 and it looks like a blowout, man. The score of that game was 23-17 Niners. And the Seahawks had the ball with 7:56 left. And then Geno freaking Smith throws the interception to Renardo Green because Geno sucks and DK Metcalf was freelancing. I mean, the two of them figure it out. But you know what? That's something the Chiefs aren't going to do. If they're down 6 with 7:56 left, they're going to win. They're going to win because the Niners were like, here, go ahead, take it. Seattle, they're like, no, you take it. We are just that generous.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part is the 49ers are playing this dangerous game where they keep giving teams opportunities. Now, the Patriots, they gave an opportunity and the Patriots couldn't capitalize because they couldn't score points, but they gave them the opportunity. They gave the opportunity to the Rams. They did capitalize. They gave the opportunity to the Cardinals. They did capitalize. They gave the opportunity to Seattle. Again, they couldn't capitalize, but that is 4 straight games where they had a lead and gave an opportunity for the other team to seize control of the game. Some were able to,
that's
some were not.
the hallmark of a dysfunctional team. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I feel like this team might be dysfunctional. They just won a game. Winning's the best deodorant. They're 3-3. No one's complaining this week. Well, let's wait and see if they lose this Sunday. What the stuff last time they lost to the Cardinals, you had multiple players being like, something's weird. I don't want to say what it is, but I know what it is, and it's weird, but I don't want to say it. Like, that doesn't sound good. And then you beat the Seahawks, and everything's great, right? Yeah, for sure. 3-3, first place in your division. Let's see how cohesive this team is if they lose another game. I want to know.
Yeah. I don't. I would prefer that they just win. So
that's fair enough. Okay, it is the sleeper time for the sleeper picks. as you can see, giving away some tickets. I'll get there in a second. But first, we got to make the picks before we can talk about the tickets. Niners. Finally, the picks are ready. Brock Purdy. I mean, should we just keep doing rushing yards and winning, or do you want to do passing yards and risk it? Because the rushing yards are, I mean, let's see what we got.
They're probably not going to give
They may not give it to us.
Yeah, they know. This is very smart. This is very smart.
Fair enough. All right. We can do picks, touchdowns. Do you think he'll throw 2 touchdown passes in this game? How about that?
No.
I don't think he will either against the Chiefs.
No, I don't. But I also don't think he's going to throw a pick.
Okay, but I want to be negative.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. That's like everyone that Jesse wanted to be positive. It's in his nature. I pushed him to the negative. It's on me. I take full responsibility for that. Travis Kelce, 60.5 receiving yards. What do you think? Or touchdown?
Coming off of a bye week. I know he's had a down season, but coming off of a bye week and against this linebacking core, I'm going to go more on the 60.5.
Agree. Okay, then you got the other all-pro tight end, George Kittle, 51.5. Or a touchdown. He's been the red zone offense. I mean, look at that.
But if we don't think Brock's going to throw 2, then that means the only one that he throws has to go to Kittle. So I'll just say less.
Good point. Or do you want to go yards? 51.5 is a lot.
It's not. I'll go less on touchdowns just because I feel like that's...
Oh, the combination is blocked. They blocked the combination.
Because they know, yeah.
They know you're right.
They know you're right.
Yeah.
They're like, the logic is too strong here.
Receptions, 4.5?
Let's go less. I don't think he's going to get more than...
They're going to shut him out like they did in the Super Bowl?
Receptions. I don't think he'll get 5.
Damn, Kittle. Jessie Naylor's a hater.
I am.
Kareem Hunt, 52.5 rushing yards.
More.
Wow.
More.
That was a quick more. Deebo Samuel may not play. I'm going to stay away from him. We didn't even get to Patrick Mahomes. Okay, but we can do touchdowns,
Deebo interception.
Might not play? Huh?
You say Deebo might not play? You mean Jennings might not play? Deebo's playing, right?
I mean, he was limited today with a wrist injury, but I'm sure he'll play.
He'll play.
His wrist hurts.
He'll play.
Yeah. Maybe he just likes the way the blue jersey looks. Did you see that Brandon Ayuk had shorts today that had black and red on them?
Yeah. I saw you. I saw your tweet. That was pretty funny. I love how you just lean into it, knowing it pisses people off so much. Just like, whatever, I don't care.
I love how Brandon Ayuk wouldn't give it up. He's like, no, I want red on my shorts. No, I'm serious. Give me some red. Like, okay.
A red Sharpies. Filling in the Nike sign, making it red. Funny.
Mahomes, 22.5 rushing yards, or
what's his passing yards?
Yards. Did they block it? No. 245.5. No, they blocked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about TDs?
1.5.
I'll go less on that as well. I don't think he's going to throw for 2 TDs either. He might run for 1, but he's not.
Okay. Brandon Ayuk, 63.5 receiving yards, or will he score his first touchdown of the year? That's blocked.
I don't feel good about either of those. Can we go to the kicker? Butker, how many field goals does he have to make? 1.5? Well, let's go with that. Yeah, he'll make 2. He's
Good
making
call.
2.
I like that.
I feel like that's a safe bet.
Jennings, staying away from that. Worthy. Garendo. Just nothing from Garendo. Okay. All right.
I think they're trying to figure out who's playing and who's not. It's kind of.
I think they've realized that we get all the right picks and they're worried about it, but that's okay.
we stress them out specifically.
How about Juju? 45.5 receiving yards. Went for 130 last week. 2 weeks ago.
I don't know.
45.5.
I don't feel good about that at all on either side. I really don't. He could have 0 targets this week, and it's like, I don't know, whoever their third wide receiver is has 100 yards, or their third tight end has 50 yards. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't feel good about.
All right, I'm gonna do something uncharacteristic. I'm gonna say more for Brandon Ayuk.
Okay.
He got shut down the Super Bowl-ish, but he was going against L'Jarius Sneed, who's not going to be there, and he's going to get some better matchups, and the Niners are dying to justify the contract, and it's at home. What a great story it would be for Brandon Ayuk to do something against the Chiefs. even in a loss. So I'm going to go with more because I'm a big Brandon Ayuk guy. I always believed in him. Wide receiver 1, love the contract, love his whole attitude this year. Think it's great. Think it's wonderful. I'm going to lock it
is
in.
Jessie Naylor, and I do not endorse this message.
I love his whole outlook on life this year. Flexing. Oh, wait, no. No.
What?
Oh. I'm going to talk to the good people at Sleeper because I don't have enough funds. I'm going to put some more funds in because this is, I got to lock this in, but I'm going to lock it in. And the people at home got to get those tickets to look on the thing. Niners ticket giveaway versus Cowboys 10-20. What I'm going to do is I'm going to announce the winner Monday after the Chiefs game. That way, if someone wins in Nova Scotia, that gives them more than enough time to buy tickets, plane tickets, hotel tickets, more than enough time. Monday, I'm naming a winner. So if you want to get in on that, download the app, use promo code Cohn, boom, instantly enter to win.
I like it.
Like it. Oh, yeah. Okay. I have a question. No, I have super chats. Fish and chips. Member for 14 months. Thank you. Juan Jimenez, give us what we really want, a signed Tang jersey. I got to do that. Fish and chips says, do we need a cornerback guy in Indy starting balling? That's Sammy Womack. Maybe they could trade for him.
Yeah.
Michael McCann says, why is everyone thinking SF should trade for Reddick or Crosby? Imagine Lynch and Kyle going to ownership and tell them they need more talent.
I don't think either are realistic. I personally don't think either are realistic. Crosby, remember, the Raiders had an offer from the 49ers regarding Khalil Mack, and they took less and traded him to the Bears. So I don't think that's realistic. Plus, are they actually going to trade Crosby? Probably not. And Hassan Reddick, you're going to have to give up a second-round pick for, because if he goes to an NFC team, then that's a part of the trade with the Eagles. They said if you trade him and it goes back to an NFC team, then you owe us a second-round pick. So why would the 49ers give that up for a disgruntled player on a one-year rental? No.
SD 49ers says, ask Kittle if he'll say hi to George Karlaftis this game.
Oh my God. Could you imagine?
Oh. Have you talked to George? Have you reached out to him? Have you said hello to George? Karlaftis?
Hi, George.
B Cruising 302 says Kyle will turn to Coach Klein when he sees Andy Reid and Waterboy. Oh, that's rough. Herbie Holland. No, Jesse, you're wrong. Look, 1992 lost to Dallas in championship game. 1993 lost to Dallas. Had to win the regular season. 1994 meeting to prove we could beat the Cowboys, beat the Chiefs, or just be second fiddle.
You're talking about a year when they added the most talented corner in the league. I mean, you don't think that changed anything at all? I mean, these two teams are relatively the same. Okay, I guess I'm wrong. So then it sounds to me, Herbie, that if they lose this game, you're going to bet a lot if they face in the Super Bowl that the 49ers are going to win based off of a 1990s game. All right.
Herbie Holland says, if you don't beat the bully at least once, then continue to be scared and turn the other way every time in your life forever.
Yeah, they better beat him then. They better beat the bully this week then. They got their chance.
Gojira Von Jinx says, this team needs a closer to finish the season games. They should hire Belichick just for the playoffs to close the season. Kyle can't close.
Gosh.
Belichick. That'd be a whole different thing. Anyone else excited to see Ricky play? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Javier Sierra says, what player is under most pressure, and do you think Mahomes will throw picks, and do you think he's worried this time around?
Is Mahomes worried? No. I don't think he's worried. He could certainly throw a pick.
For a game in October when he's 5-0?
No.
Even if he loses.
Yeah, he threw a pick in the Super Bowl. I could see him throwing a pick this week. And who's under the most pressure? I mean, I hate to say it, and it's not because he's been playing poorly, but Fred Warner's going to be under immense pressure if he's got to stop Kelsey. And there's no running mate that can help him there. So he might be
shots fired at Demetrius Flanagan-Foles. Michael Valencia says, would you go on my local sports radio and talk Niners? 102.7 The Fanatic. You could talk Niners non-biased rhetoric, Palm Springs area, Coachella. Well, since you donated $10, absolutely. I love Palm Springs area. They have a couple really nice Jewish delis, which is something you don't really see in the Bay Area. Some Shermans and Manhattans in the desert. Shout out to the To the Jewish delis out there, feel me. All right, got a question. Is there a team in the NFC West that can push the 49ers this season?
There's one team, and the 49ers would have to lose this week for this to be a possibility. But it's the Rams. Believe it or not, it is the Rams, because the Rams are getting players back. If the Rams win this week against the Raiders, which I would think they will, and if the 49ers lose to the Chiefs, they're only a half game behind the 49ers. And that half game is in the win column, not the loss column. Meaning, as long as they just keep winning, then they can catch the 49ers. And then, of course, they've got a matchup later in the season. If they're healthy, the 49ers are healthy, it's going to be a clash. So it all depends on this week. If the 49ers win, like I said, I think they're going to ride that momentum. At that point, they'll have a full game lead on the Rams, and I think they're going to be fine. But if they lose this week and the Rams beat the Raiders, I think that's the one team that can still make some noise in the NFC West.
It's funny because, like, I don't take the Cardinals seriously. They keep getting blown out by, like, semi-good teams. But, and so maybe they won't be a threat to the Niners because of their record. But when the Niners play the Cardinals, they can for sure push the because they already beat them in San Francisco. So just the fact that the Niners can't really stop James Conner for 4 quarters, and they can't contain mobile quarterbacks at all. Yeah, Arizona's always going to be tough for them.
Yeah, I think in division games outside of Seattle is going to be tough for the 49ers. And I'll say this too. We talk about starting bad and turning it around. We've seen the 49ers do it twice, and that's why the 49ers fans have a lot of confidence that they could do it again this year. How about the Rams? I think they had 3 wins through like 10 weeks last year, and then they went on a crazy pace and ended up in the playoffs. Like, you don't think they have confidence that they could do it again if they put together? Imagine if they beat the Raiders and then beat the Vikings the week after, and the Vikings are coming off of a game against the Lions. That's a possibility. So now all of a sudden you've got a team that is getting players back. They've got their secondaries fully healthy for the first time all season. Cup's probably coming back this week. If not this week, then against Minnesota. And then if you get Puka back, it's like they just got one of their starting offensive linemen back as well. Like, they're getting healthy all of a sudden. So yeah, I think the Rams can be a threat. I really do.
It's kind of interesting to compare the Niners this year to the Rams last year, because I'm looking at the Rams last year. They were 3-3.
Mm-hmm.
Then they fell to 3-6.
Yeah.
And they had a bye week. The Niners can't be 3-6 at the bye week, but they can be 3-5.
True.
Then the Rams got healthy and went on an incredible run. They won 7 of 8. Then they lost in the first round of the playoffs, wild card round. If the Niners have that season, if they end up going 10-7, making a little run and losing in the first round of the playoffs, how will fans feel? I think Rams fans were pretty psyched about it. I don't think Niner fans will be psyched or stoked.
No. Anything short of an NFC. 49ers 49er fans won a Super Bowl, but they at least got to be in the NFC Championship. Like, that's the floor, is getting to that game. If they lose in the divisional or they lose in the wild card, people are going to be pissed. All right.
Niners play Chiefs few days. Never beaten the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. They've gotten blown out. They've had leads. They've given leads away. They've lost in overtime. I mean, they found many different ways to not beating the Chiefs. Why will this time be different, Jesse?
I think this time can be different for 2 reasons, and they're both on the offensive side of the ball. Number one is Brock Purdy and his mobility. He started to show it in the playoffs last year, but against the Chiefs, he didn't really unleash his ability to run. This year, he's running even more. And so to me, I look at that and say, okay, Brock Purdy's going to run in this game. He's going to pick up some key third downs. And if he can keep drives alive by doing that, it's going to be crucial. So I think Brock Purdy's mobility, and I also think Kyle Shanahan might be forced to be more aggressive, being that they could be down to the 3rd string kicker that just joined the team. So Kyle has to do some things out of characteristic for him, things he wouldn't prefer to necessarily do, because of the situation, and then Brock Purdy being able to keep drives alive with his legs, unlike for whatever reason he was willing to do a lot in the Super Bowl last year. I think for those two reasons, it could be different.
That's true. He didn't really run around in the Super Bowl. He ran so much in the NFC Championship game. Maybe he's his new, because he's a different quarterback this year.
Yeah.
I think that's an underrated story this year. Like, he's having a great year, but he's playing. I can't say he's having a great year. He's 3-3, but he's having a good year and he's playing a totally different style. He's holding onto the ball. He's not checking it down, sometimes to his detriment. But maybe in this particular matchup, this Brock Purdy 3.0 or 2.0 is better suited, because he frankly didn't do that great against the Chiefs. He didn't make a big mistake, but he scored 19 points. And he's a quarterback.
Yeah,
and one of the touchdown passes was thrown by Juwan. Sorry.
Yeah, he wasn't a force multiplier last year, but I think he can be
like that
this year with his legs.
Force multiplier. Okay. Why will it be the same? Let's look at the other side of the potential outcome here. Why will nothing change against the Chiefs?
So many reasons. Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan in the close game.
In close games, which this inevitably will be.
Yep. They still don't have Greenlaw, and at least they had him for a half last year. Once he went out, Kelsey went crazy in the second half of that game. And that included with Fred Warner being on him one-on-one. Fred Warner's the best coverage linebacker in the game. He cannot cover man-to-man Travis Kelsey. That's a win for Kelsey 95% of the time. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be an issue if they decide to exploit it, the Chiefs. And then I would say, we can say it's holding or whatever, but the lack of consistent pressure on Patrick Mahomes, the way it has been in the Super Bowl the last two times, that's an issue. And if they cannot get pressure consistently on Patrick Mahomes, he's going to dice them up in the most important moments of that game. He always does. So for those three reasons, I would say that's why it would be the same.
Also, not to dump on the Niners, but to praise the Chiefs and Andy Reid. Like, I don't know the exact stat, but when Andy Reid has an extra week to prepare, he's generally doesn't lose.
He's like 24-3 or something.
Something like that. And so, like, why? To me, what's interesting, like the difference between him and Kyle, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I see as Kyle and his staff as being very analytical. They're going to study the tape. They're going to find your tendencies. They're going to expose your rules. They're going to use it against you. So if you show everything, they're going to be prepared, and the Niners players are going to know what to do. But you've heard Nick Bosa say it a little bit this year, like, yeah, we're so prepared, but when they show us stuff we haven't seen, when they do stuff they haven't done before, we're late to adjust. And that, to me, is what makes Andy Reid so special. He doesn't have a scheme that he can teach his underlings.
And Spagnuolo so special, but it's not just
true.
Andy.
Yeah, but like, so he's not necessarily just like a scheme guy who's Xeroxing this to his underlings. He is a guy who we give him 2 weeks, like he's going to have all kind of plays he's never run before. He's going to draw shit up. Pardon my French. He's just going to draw stuff up. And in the Super Bowl 4 years ago, they got the guys doing Ring Around the Rosie. Like, he has fun with it, and you can't fully prepare for what he's going to do, especially when he's got 2 weeks to get freaky with it. He's going to get freaky with it. He will.
Last year, the play that they had ran on that fourth down of that final drive, it had been something like 3 years since they had ran that exact play. So yeah, he's going to do crazy stuff. 2 years ago, remember in the regular season when they just came in and blew the 49ers out in CMC's first game with the 49ers? They did that off of end arounds. It was end arounds. They beat the 49ers literally just by running the ball with their receivers and doing end arounds. It was crazy. So yeah, they're gonna do something unique, something different. And I don't know how you prepare for something that's not there. You just got to stay disciplined and hope players make the plays. But they seem to use the strength of Bosa against him often, whether that's putting him in conflict with read options the way they did in the Super Bowl, or whether that's putting him in conflict with end arounds and running right at him with these receivers. They see something in Bosa and they like that matchup for whatever reason.
And I think that's another thing that to me makes Andy Reid so good. It's not just about this is our scheme and this is what we do. It's like, no, Bosa. I can see something in this player that the rest of the league can't see, and I'm not afraid of him. I see his weaknesses, and I'm going to use them against him. I'm going to turn him from a positive impact player to a negative impact player. No one else can do that to Nick Bosa, but Reed has done it, can do it, might do it again. I don't know.
It's the same way that Shanahan did with Aaron Donald. Nobody could figure out how to neutralize Aaron Donald, but Shanahan could. Shanahan had something. You got to give him credit for that. And
you know what he had?
Andy Reid has done the same thing with. I know where you're going with this.
What are you gonna say?
You're gonna say I forget the crappy offensive lineman's name, but go ahead. Who was it?
You know what I'm talking about? Daniel Brunskill, baby. It wasn't Kyle. It was all Daniel. It was
all Danny B.
Yeah. No, shout out to Kyle for that. He gets credit for that for sure. He never had a problem with Aaron Donald.
Never
had a couple of times when like Nick Mullins was the quarterback, but basically never. Yeah.
No, they neutralized him. So all credit in the world goes to him for that.
All right. Well, I didn't give tickets away to the Chiefs game for a reason. Maybe it was a mistake. I figured, Niner fans want to go to see a win. Maybe not in the 90-degree heat. So I made a business decision. Maybe I was wrong. This game's a pretty big one.
It is.
It's a pretty freaking big game. Juan Jimenez says Kittle said hi to Buda Baker after he got pancaked. Damn.
I do love that matchup though. Buda and Kittle is like primetime TV.
Agree. Well, look, that's the show. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow and do all the things. Where is the 4-man front tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, it'll be on my channel.
There it is.
At 10 p.m. Eastern.
There it is.
And then next week, we're going to have a schedule change with it going forward. So stay tuned for that. It'll be on Grant's channel next week. And then also, if you want to learn more about this game, in 1 minute over on Last Second Sports, Behind Enemy Lines, I've got a Chiefs content creator coming on. We're going to break this game down in all the ways. So tune in just 1 minute over there.
I will definitely be tuning into that. And tomorrow I will be interviewing Tom Walsh, former Raiders offensive coordinator. I'm going to ask him his take on Andy Reid and this matchup. So make sure you tune into Jesse and like and subscribe his channel, my channel, and make sure you just have a great night and a wonderful morning.
The best night ever.
Take care.